There are a lot of people that I run into here in San Francisco. Some people call me the priest of the Castro. I am out in the Castro a lot with one of my colleagues who's an Episcopal deacon. And we have street ministry, and we'll go in our collars into the gay bars in the Castro. And we are just there. And it's interesting that whenever something happens in the community, they call us to minister with them, because many of the people who were raised Christian, who have been hurt by the church, it's still at their core of who they are, but it's been messed with by people.
I have LGBT friends that are proudly, boldly, aggressively atheist because of the damage that's been done to them in their churches as a child.
You can meet us in the bars, you can meet us on the streets, and we bring the church to them. And that, I think, was what Christ is calling us to do, is to walk along the road with other people.
So Glide Memorial is a Methodist congregation formed by Lizzie Glide. It was erected as a place of prayer for all people. That's what Lizzie Glide shared. However, all people meant all people that think like me. And so the place of prayer for all people really wasn't a place of prayer for all people. It was more a certain kind of people.
St. Aidan's came to this location 50 years ago, and since then it has had a flavor of doing things before much of the rest of the church liturgically, but we're still centered around the table of the Eucharist or the Mass every Sunday. People always ask me, oh, is St. Aidan's a gay church? And I was like, no, it's not a gay church. It's just a church. It's a mixture of everyone. And so when people come here, they have an authentic experience of community. Like the two guys that have adopted a child here, John and Stefan, they said, we wanted to have a church where we can raise our child in a community of faith.
I'm married to my partner, Stefan. We've been together for 5 years, and we just are in the process of adopting Liam. I remember when we announced we were getting married, my mom couldn't even say the word at first. She couldn't say wedding, she couldn't say marriage, she kept saying she was coming to my party. It was a struggle for her, being such a devout Catholic at first. She had a hard time with it. I have always had a strong faith. I think, when I wasn't going to church, I felt something was missing.
When the Bible was written, they weren't aware of the concept of homosexuality. What they thought was homosexuality is not what we have as today.
The people that go back to the Leviticus quote about homosexuality being an abomination, and finally that argument is starting to be put on the defensive, saying no, actually you kicking your kids out of your house is an abomination, not the way that they were made. The more people think about it, and the more conversations they have with it, they actually understand that what they've maybe been taught doesn't hold water.
Folks use the Bible for everything. They use it for however it is they want to address their agenda. And usually if it's used by those who are in power, then the scriptures can be violent.
As I was coming of age and was becoming more and more aware of my own sexuality, what I realized is there was a real disconnect with the church. And when I became involved with a partner, then it was so hard for us to find a church together. It disappointed me in the church I had grown up with, because I knew inside that God loved us, and I knew that the church could be a place that held rich experiences and allowed us to thrive in our faith.
I grew up in South Louisiana, and I went to Catholic school, I went to the Episcopal Church, I also went to the Baptist Church. And everyone says that Tommy had a calling to the priesthood at an early age. I was against the ordination of gay and lesbian people. I was really against the ordination of women. I mean, it was just like this horribleness that I had. And it was just because that's all I knew. And when I went away to seminary to New England, I met a woman priest who I was stuck in the pew, and I didn't realize that she was going to be there. And she preached this sermon that caused me to cry. And it was like that thing I had was just gone. When I went back to Louisiana after seminary, I had come out of the closet. I was for women's ordination. I had worked in a soup kitchen for 2 years and became very progressive in terms of working with the poor and the marginalized. And my congregation that I came from had not changed. And I was supposed to go down to see the bishop